because we can go back on the ballot with the initiative process and fix what's broken. And what's broken here was broken in Proposition 19 in 2020. That's the one that looked like it was about helping wildfire victims and helping seniors move to a new house 3 times. And it was, and it did, and we're not changing that. But in the fine print was the biggest property tax increase in the history of California. That we're going to fix. The right that you had for more than 30 years, property from parents to children without a tax increase. It was in the law that when parents passed their house of any value and up to $1 million of assessed value of other property, so that's a vacation cabin or a duplex or a small business or that someone's owned for a long time, up to $1 million of other property plus the home could be passed to the children with no increase to the tax bill. And now that's gone. That protection is gone. Where did it go? Well, in the fine print of Prop 19, it was repealed. So we are repealing that. And the way we're doing it is with a petition. We need your signature. We need your signature today. We are right on our deadline here. It is coming up. We need to get these petitions in our office so we can count them by January 16th. That's next week. That next week? Where's my calendar? It's coming right up. We have to get this going here. We need to be able to count these petitions to know where we are so that we can get these to the counties. This is all on paper. This is the 1911 direct democracy power of the initiative. It has to be on paper. It has to be in ink. You have to mail it to us or drop it off. And we have to drive it to the county offices stacked up in boxes. But the digital part is you can print the petition yourself. You don't have to go find somebody at the supermarket. You don't have to wait for us to mail it to you, although we will if you want us to. You can print this yourself. Any printer. It prints on one page, 8.5 by 11, standard letter size paper. And then all you do is you sign it, print your name, you sign your name, your registered voter address, your home address where you're registered to vote, your city and zip code. And then at the bottom, there's a declaration of circulator. That just means I am the person I just said I was. It takes you 5 seconds to fill that out and sign it. Put it in an envelope, mail it back to us. The address is right on the petition. And when you download the petition, you'll see we have complete instructions. We have a financial disclosure, so you know there's no funny business. Everything is right there. Even a clip and tape mailing label that you can put on the envelope, so you don't even have to write the address. So easy. Go to repealthedeathtax.com. Repealthedeathtax.com. And this is crunch time. This is it. We need those petitions back. So if they're sitting in your book bag, on your table, on your desk, if you folded them up and put them in your junk drawer, take them out, get an envelope, send them back to the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. We have to count them. It's time. This is it. We have reached the proverbial it. For your support. We appreciate your donations at repealthedeathtax.com. Thank you for making that possible for us to do statewide radio in 3 languages. So we are reaching people all over the state, and we are seeing a big surge in our website traffic. This is going well. Send them back. We're getting big boxes. We're expecting it to increase. We need them back. We can't do this if we don't get them back. So give us a call. We're at 415-808-5600, 415-808-5600. And you can help not just by downloading and signing and mailing the petition, but also by posting this link everywhere. The other part of this that we can do that's digital is telling people about it. You can text them. You can put it on social media. You can put a yard sign. We're not printing yard signs, but you can make one. Repealthedeathtax.com. Put it on your house. Tell the neighbors. Tell the relatives. We really don't want to have people losing their property when somebody passes away. This is a very cruel tax increase. What's happening here is because we've lost the parent-child transfer, even trusts don't protect you from this. Because even though the trust doesn't die and people think, well, the death tax doesn't affect us because we're in a trust, assessors look through the trust to see the present beneficial owner. So there's no protection from property tax increase in a trust. Where was the protection all those years? Well, it was in this parent-child transfer exclusion from reassessment, which is gone. So what does our initiative do? Here's what it does. It puts back what was lost. That's it. It puts back the ability of parents to transfer to their kids a home of any value and up to $1 million of assessed value of other property. That protects a duplex, a small business, a small apartment building. This is really important, not just for homeowners, also for tenants, because there are millions of units of housing that are owned by mom and pop landlords. Millions of units that are one house or one condo or in a small building that's 2 to 19 units, millions of them, and they're family owned. Reassessed to current market value. And the tax bill is taxes on the local charges that voters have approved. So it could be a tax increase. To survive that, especially after COVID, all the landlords who had to wait to collect rent, and now this, all those restaurants that had to take out loans to build patios that were closed for all those months, for 2 years. How are they? To current market value, no break at all, no exclusion of any kind on income property or business property. What are they supposed to do? They're going to close, they're going to sell, and you're going to lose all those neighborhood businesses. And sure, the kids who sell, they get the cash, but the cash loses value to inflation. We're generating income that we're anchoring the neighborhoods. They're going to be gone, and they're going to be replaced by who knows what. Developers are going to come in and gentrify the neighborhood. You're going to see chains. Maybe you bought a rental house for a little extra income. Maybe you needed the income for long-term care needs. You had the house that you were living in, and then you had the rental house. Maybe you had a house. We've heard stories like this frequently, where parents own a house and they give it to their kids to live in. But so the little bit of exclusion that you get under Prop 19, which applies to a home that's the parent's principal residence becoming the child's principal residence, that was supposed to be a tax break right there, is hurting you anyway. It's hurting you anyway, because if parents give a house to their kids and it wasn't their principal residence, there's no exclusion from reassessment, even if it used to be their principal residence. If they haven't lived in it, reassess to market value. And these are heartbreaking stories. Heartbreaking that people are having to sell the property. Of these apartment buildings getting reassessed and turning into something else. Because, you know, if you have the giant increase in expenses and the units are under rent control, or the tenants are paying below market rent because they've been there a long time and it's been for both parties, well, now it's not working because of this tax. And there's no break. It's not based on ability to pay. There's no delay. There's nothing. It's just you owe those taxes. They're so backlogged with these complicated claims to process because that people are being told they have to pay anyway. A year, 2 years from now, when they straighten everything out, you'll get the money back. It's a small amount. This is not some $20 parking ticket here. $1,000, $20,000, $50,000. taxes because of this reassessment. These properties are getting reassessed to market value as of market value, pay up, move out. This is very painful. You're getting these letters in the mail from the county tax assessors. It's not good news, and they're not happy about it either. So, Scott, you've been talking to some of the assessors. What are some of the things that they've told you about Prop 19 that we have to fix?
Well, it's a mess. I mean, as you said, it was poorly written. It was hastily implemented. I think after the dust settled, and because it took this barely passed. Prop 19 barely passed by a percentage point or two, and then it went into effect. This part at least went into effect in April. So we didn't know that this had actually even passed till December, and then in April it goes into effect. And people didn't have time. Assessors didn't have time to properly prepare for it. I've been told by assessors they're usually given 18 months before these things go into effect to give them time to kind of work out all the kinks and find all the issues. As you said, they're backlogged. I've heard 22 month backlog on some of these for some people. And these are people that probably don't owe anything, but they owe something until it can be proven that they don't. That's the problem. They have to because it's in the Constitution. The assessors have the Constitution. They're not happy with it. They don't like it. They've been made out to be the bad guy in this, right? They're the ones that have to send the letter. Sorry about your parent. Here's your reassessment bill. It's not a good look for them that they don't like it. In fact, they even sent, I think it was 18 pages of fixes to the legislature. They wanted 18 pages of fixes to this thing before it went into effect. And almost none of them have been put into law. So it's still a mess and it still needs to be fixed. And that's why we need to get rid of it. We'll just solve the problem. We'll get rid of it.
Exactly. And we can get rid of it. Proposition 13 in 1978 was an initiative, and Howard Jarvis went and collected signatures, and he got Prop 13 on the ballot. And what was Prop 13? It said that we're not going to reassess property based on market value anymore because market value was out of everybody's control and inflation was pushing up the value of property and people were getting taxed out of their home because the tax rate statewide was 2.67% average. And multiply 2.6 how long you could stay in it, having to pay that every year, because property tax is a tax on what you own. It's not a tax on what you're thinking of buying. It's a tax on what you already own. And if you're going to be taxed on the market value, which you can't control, these are paper profits, you're out pretty quickly, having to write these enormous checks, the way California real estate appreciates. Inflation pushes up the price of homes. And if you were taxed on the market value of the home you bought years ago, could you pay it? Really, nobody can. Nobody can. And that's why Prop 13 was so important. What owned your property, the assessed value could not go up more than 2% per year. So if the market went up 20%, your assessed value went up 2%, and you were taxed on that. And the tax rate was cut to 1%. So it was 1% of your stable value, which could only rise 2% a year. Instead of randomly assessors going around saying, oh, well, here's a big sale in this neighborhood. We're going to reassess all the houses on this street to this new market value. And everybody gets a new tax bill. It's where you live. And we can't have the government running around taxing people out of their property. This is a situation. People are trying to build family wealth and security. In many communities that are historically disadvantaged, maybe they're in the second generation of property ownership in their family, or renters and renters and renters, and now they're homeowners. And they want their kids to be homeowners. But if the kids can't live in the property within 1 year, if the parents' residence can't become the child's residence within 1 year, it's going to be reassessed to market value. If the parents have invested in real estate, bought a couple of rental homes, which many people do for income, it's a good business, it used to be a good business, reassessed to current market value. What happens to the tenants? Well, it's going to be sold and the tenants will be evicted. chairs and finds a new place to live in California or in Texas or in Wyoming. This is not good policy. It's just not. And all of these small businesses, to hit businesses in California with this tax increase, it's toll. 415-808-5600 if you want to call and talk to us. One of the things that voters were told about Prop 19 is that it was going to fund wildfire fighting. Work out on funding the wildfire funding.
Well, for the last 2 years, the fund has received $0. Zero. Nothing. Zip. Nada. Zero. Nothing. Yeah. Well, they created this complicated. I mean, really, this in the game that is putting things on the ballot, they call that sort of thing a sweetener. It's to sweeten you up to vote for it, right? Because everyone likes the firefighters, everyone wants to help the firefighters. Firefighting is an issue of statewide concern. It shouldn't be properly funded. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. So they add this in, but it's an afterthought, and they create this complicated formula to make this calculation every year. In the past 2 years, the calculation has resulted in $0 being put into these funds that were created by Prop 19.
But it did allow them to say something about wildfire fighting on the ballot. And people in 2020 looked at that and said, well, this sounds all right. You know, it's going to help wildfire victims. It's going to fund firefighters. But actually, hidden inside it, even though they denied that it was a tax increase, they did $50 million of commercials, and they didn't tell you it was a tax increase. And it didn't tell you in the ballot summary it was a tax increase. It was a tax increase. We're sensitive about that at the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. We think you should know what you're voting on. We're fighting for transparency on the ballot. And in this case, another try at this particular one, because we do not want to see people taxed out of their family property that their parents worked so hard to acquire. It's not right. So
Susan,
what you want to do?
Might raise a couple million to maybe low hundreds of millions of dollars, and now that we're trying to repeal it, it's billions of dollars on the line, right? What we said it was $1 billion tax increase, and now they're willing to admit it because they think it helps them.
Right. So the question is, if you're going to raise taxes $1 billion in California, is this the way you want to do it? Let's imagine who have just lost a parent, and we'll get them while they're grieving. We'll send them a letter and we'll say, we're reassessing your property to market value. Your new tax bill is tens of thousands of dollars a year higher. That's the way we're going to raise money and run the state of California. They did not want to tell you what this was. They just wanted to get rid of that parent-child transfer exclusion. The legislature wants to raise your taxes. And we don't think that's right. We don't think people should be tricked voting for tax increases that have all these terrible negative consequences for people. They indicated in some of the commercials this only affects really wealthy people on the beach in Malibu, trust fund babies, East Coast people, investors. No. Every property, every family home, every small business, every small apartment building, every vacation cabin, everybody's property in California is affected by this. The only exclusion from the reassessment to market value is if it's the parent's principal residence at the time of transfer, and then it becomes the child's principal residence within 1 year and permanently. If you move out, let's say you get a job offer in another location and you want to move, it's getting reassessed to the market value. I think it's not fair. It's not good policy. And you can do something about it. How many times do you get frustrated with California and you say, if only I could do something? You can do something. Repeal, R-E-P-E-A-L, repealthedeathtax.com. And click the link that says download the petition. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to get a PDF file, which will open up on your computer. It's 5 pages. The first page is a cover sheet that just explains everything. And it has the little mailing label on it that you can cut out. The second page is the full color instructions that show you exactly where you have to sign and where you have to write the date. Very simple to follow. It's going to take you. And then there's a flyer, because when your neighbors call and say, what's that about? Here's a flyer that you can give them. Explain what this is, why it's so important. That's page 3. Page 4 is our financial disclosure, which is legal. It says that this campaign is being paid for by Repeal the Death Tax, a project of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. That's all it says. And that's what's happening. We are paying for this with small donations. Thank you for your support, making this campaign possible. This is a grassroots campaign. This is not a big money special interest campaign. This is all about protecting, making all of this advertising possible. Once I left off in the middle of the PDF, the last page is the most important. The last page is the petition. So that's really the only one you have to print. Your household or one neighbor, or you can just send it back with your signature. Fill out that declaration of circulator at the bottom to make sure it counts. Make sure you use the address where you're registered to vote. On the line where you're signing as the voter, you have to be registered to vote for it to count. But you can register to vote at registertovote.ca.gov and then sign. You have to be registered. It'll only count if you're registered. Use the address where you're registered to vote. Fill out easy as can be. You can print as many petitions as you like. You can be the circulator of as many petitions as you want. You can only sign as a voter once, but you can be the circulator of as many petitions as you like. And you can send this one that you know so they can download it right now. Do it do it tomorrow. Send them back. We need 1 million petitions, need 1 million signatures in our office that we can take to the county offices and get this qualified for the November ballot. And guess what? This will be retroactive. So if you got burned for a parent-child transfer, you'll be able to get your original assessed value reinstated. So we're reinstating the parent-child transfer exclusion. We're making it retroactive. Repealthedeathtax.com. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk. Oh, 85600. See you in a minute.
Hello in Oakland from a 3-car wreck southbound 880 after Winton Avenue. Everybody's on the shoulder, but you're back up 238. Lanes are open in San Mateo now, north 101 after Goree. This crash that was in lanes is now on the shoulder. We still have a backup from Kehoe and delays in Santa Clara, south 101 from Montague Expressway.
This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. At Mattress Firm's once-a-year sale and clearance, you can save up to 60% on select mattresses. Plus, score a free adjustable base on qualifying purchases. Here's to better sleep in 2024. The right mattress matters, and Mattress Firm will find yours.
Do you miss the simplicity and reliability of a landline? With a landline service, conversations were never cut off because your internet stopped working. It's home phone service starting at just $39 a month. And today, get 50% off your first caller ID, voicemail, spam call blocking, unlimited nationwide calls, and more. And the phone works even phone number or get a new one. You can set up your home phone service with Community Phone in 30 seconds, all by yourself. Today, get 50. Call 1-866-535-8712. Call 1-866-535-8712 today to get 50% off. Card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the Get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/free. 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 Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will. Our price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper, and you can get it online? Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, and up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
Let's put out this campfire.
Dad, Smokey Bear said to.
Down with water. On SmokeyBear.com. Only you can predict wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, State Forester, and the Ad Council.
KSFO's Dan Bongino's a smart guy, but this hasn't stumped. I genuinely can't understand how this guy in the White House has an approval rating higher than, say, 25%. Who are the 4 out of 10 people who are like, yeah, man, this guy's great. He's knocking it out of the park? Inflation we haven't seen in 40 years. I really don't understand these 4 in 10 people. Bongino, 9 to noon on your radio and smart speaker at 560.
And retroactively reinstate your old property tax assessment if you got burned for one of these parent-child transfers, where you were reassessed to market value when the parents passed property to the children. Lost, and we are going to put it back with your help. Go to repealthedeathtax.com. And you get the PDF and you print page 5, which is the petition itself. The rest of it is instructions and helpful information. Print the petition. There's room for 2 signatures. Then you creation of circulator at the bottom, which is just making it official. Envelope, and you send it as fast as you can to the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. On page 1 of that file that you download. Very easy. Repealthedeathtax.com. Let's talk to Jen in San Mateo on line 1. Hi, Jen.
Or gotcha in this exclusion that's being afforded. or 2 or 3 kids, and I know this happened to a friend. One is buying out to 2 other siblings. That exclusion is eroded all the way down to a third, let's say.
Mhm.
So reassessment, it's changing title. And the exclusion of $1 million can be whittled down to, $333,000 easily. Well, for people with normal jobs that we
Right.
rely on in the community. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to highlight that because a lot of people are not aware of that fact.
Well, thank you for the call. Much appreciated. While we're on the subject of exclusions, let me explain how you could get a tax increase anyway, even if you follow work and the parent's principal residence becomes your principal residence and you do it within a year and you're fine. Guess what? The amount of protection is limited. So if your house or your other property, it would have to be your house, is worth more than $1 million plus what it was assessed at before, everything above that is considered excess value. You're rich, congratulations. And they're going to tax that at market value and add that to your old tax bill. So you could get a tax increase anyway. Los Angeles, everywhere in California, really, the property values have appreciated so much that $1 million of exclusion isn't enough to protect people from a tax increase. So you could inherit property that your family worked for, that your family wants you to have, and you could be taxed out of it anyway, which is really, really harsh. So be careful. Also, let me just give you a standard warning that if you're going to change the title on property in California, be very careful. Always talk to a professional, talk to an attorney, talk to an accountant. Every situation is different. You may incur different kinds of taxes, capital gains, or other things. When you change the title of property, don't just rush out and do it. Be thoughtful about it and check it out with a professional. It's very costly if you get it wrong. And it usually can't be reversed. So be very careful. Anytime you transfer property in California, call a lawyer, call an accountant, and check it out as carefully as you can. So that's my standard advice for everyone who's listening, who's thinking, I have to go out right now and change this so I don't get stuck. Whatever you change, it's probably not going to make it better. The only thing that's going to make it better is repealing the death tax. So get the petition at repealthedeathtax.com. Let's talk to Tom in Redlands. Hi, Tom. Well, thank you. We're working on it.
I have a question regarding the petition. I filled one out, mailed it in September.
Great, thank you.
Is that still good, or do I need to redo it, or?
No, as long as you did it after, I think we started August 20th or August 21st of this year. So as long as you signed the petition that was out in August of this year, you don't have to do it again. It's fine. If you signed the one we were doing last year, which was a longer petition with more language in it, it was on 8.5 by 14 paper, multiple pages. If you sign that one, then do sign this one again, because this is different. This is our new initiative, and this is different. So we have to start fresh.
I want to jump in for a point of clarity. You forgot it's the new year, so you should specify it wasn't last year. That it was 2022 that we tried the first time. Yes.
Thank
Happy
you,
New
Scott.
Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. 2024.
If you signed in August 2023 or later, you don't need to sign again. We have your petition.
Thank you for that. I have to recalibrate my internal calendar. It's broken. Well, thank you for the call. We much appreciate it. I was just in Redlands. So beautiful. They're really nice people. Let's talk to Sarah in Richmond. Hi, Sarah.
Hi there. Thank you so much for taking my call. I have been following this Prop 19 stuff for a while, and there's a number of kind of gray area questions that have come up that I've never been quite able to find. So I'll ask one, and then if you don't have time, I have to move to the next caller. Just let me know. So one is for multiple siblings who are inheritees of a property, whether it's 2 or 3.
Wouldn't it? We weren't sure at the beginning, but they did clarify that. I believe it was the Board of Equalization, which supervises property tax assessment in California. They clarified that only one of the eligible children have to move into the property. And if one moves out and another moves in, that's good too. That's fine. You keep your lower property tax assessment. As long as an eligible child lives in the property, you're good. But if if everybody moves out, is that right, Scott?
The answer was originally yes. You all had to move in. That was one of. It did actually clarify, and now it says only one eligible child has to move in. That said, you were mentioning, to Jen's point that you were mentioning earlier, Susan, we're running into this issue though where two kids are inheriting a property and one moves in and they want to buy the other one out because they want to own it free and clear because they're going to live in it. When they buy that other one out and take them off the title, that's a change of ownership. So beware of that because you will get reassessed if you take them off the title.
Right, and that was the case before. There's no exclusion for sibling transfers. There's no exclusion for aunt and uncle and niece and nephew transfers. There is an exclusion for grandchild transfers if the children's parents are deceased. Now, this was put into the Constitution by Prop 193, 10 years after Prop 58, which was the original parent-child exclusion, which, by the way, the legislature did because people were so upset that inflation had pushed up the values and people were having to sell their inherited property because inheriting counted as a change of ownership in the law. So people were so angry that the legislature stepped in and created this parent-child transfer exclusion for the home of any value and up to $1 million of other property, a limited amount of other property to protect family wealth, family inheritances. And that both of those are gone now. Prop 58 from 1986 is gone. And by the way, that was passed unanimously by the legislature and approved by 75% of the voters, and then it was erased in the fine print of Prop 19, which is just really awful. So that's gone, and we have to put it back. And the grandchild transfer is gone, and we have to put it back. And we have to make this retroactive, and that's what our initiative does. So there is no transfer exclusion for siblings. So if you're in that situation, if you take someone's name off the title, you'll be reassessed. 50% of the property, if it's a 50-50 split, would be reassessed. So watch out for that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about affordable housing. I have some numbers here that you just won't believe. There are 1.65 million rental households in units, in buildings where there are 20 units or more. So those are the larger apartment buildings that might be corporate owned, 1.65 million. But in the smaller buildings, 2 to 19 units, 2.1 million households. So more people who rent live in smaller buildings than the larger corporate buildings. And those are the ones that are most likely to be affected by Prop 19. And those are the tenants that are most likely to be evicted. And in the 1 unit home or condo types of rentals, there are 2 million renter households. So you combine the small apartment buildings and the 1 units, and you've got 4.1 million renter households at risk of being evicted when the parent generation passes and the kids inherit that property. It's 4 million renter households in California at risk of eviction because of Proposition 19. Let's fix this. Let's fix this. We can do this because of the initiative. The initiative goes back to 1911, and it's there so the voters of California can write laws and amend the Constitution when the legislature doesn't do what we need them to do. When they don't look out for us, when they try to raise taxes and ruin people, instead of protecting people in California, we can step in. And we're the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, and we're the people who brought you Proposition 13. We're the people who make sure you don't get taxed out of your property. Deadline, we told everybody to get them back to us by January 16th. It's coming up right now. Get to the mailbox and send them back. How's it going, Scott, in the Sacramento office?
It's going really well. I mean, they're coming in thousands a day probably. And as I think you told me before we jumped on today, we're seeing thousands of downloads a day from the website. So people are still downloading it in the thousands, printing it out, signing it, mailing it back to us, and we're seeing tons of them coming into the office. It's really exciting to see. This is what always happens. This is what happened to us last time we tried. This is what happened to Howard Jarvis in 1978. They all come in at the last minute. I got to tell you, so people keep calling us and saying, "Where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you at?" And I have to tell you, every single person we get talking, they haven't sent theirs in yet. Send them in. We need them. They're no good to us if you don't send them to us.
They're sitting on your table. We can't count them. So, one of the things that happens is people have this expectation that we'll have a thermometer and we'll tell them every day how many we have. Well, the campaigns that have done that in the past were using paid signature gatherers. They had tens of millions of dollars qualify an initiative. We don't. We're doing this as a grassroots effort, volunteers and small donations and our own free time. That's how we're doing this. So when you have paid signature gatherers, it's like a time card. They turn in their petitions that they collected at the end of every day to get paid. And so the organizers always have a running count of how many petitions they have. And then as soon as they get what they need, they stop paying for it. So they want to know when they have enough. Well, we're saying to people, send them back to us by January 16th. And they're sitting on everybody's table. They're in your book bag. They're in your briefcase. They're in your junk drawer. Get them out of the junk drawer. It's not junk. This is happening. Send them back. Send them back. Go to the post office and send them back. And if you want to drop them off, call our office. You can reach our Sacramento office at 916-444. What's the number? I forgot. 9950 444-9950. 916-444-9950. The Sacramento office. And the LA office is 213-384-9656. And you can drop them off at our offices or talk to our people if you need help. If postage costs are a problem because you're shipping a big box, give us a call. We'll try to help you out with that. We are really working on this. We need to get 1 million signatures into our offices by January 16th. Tell everyone you know, it is not too late. It is not too late. There is time. Download the petition, print it, fill it out, sign it, mail it to us. If we get 1 million people doing it this week in California statewide, we will have this qualified by the middle of next week. That is theoretically possible. Tell everyone you know to download and sign this petition so that we can reverse this damaging tax increase that is hurting California families. People should be able to take care of their kids. You work a lot of years to acquire property. You pay a lot of taxes through the years. You keep up the neighborhood. You know the neighbors. This is what makes it your home. And to tax people out of their property right after they've lost a parent, that is just so cruel. People should not even be making big financial decisions at a time like that. In the first year after you lose somebody, you should not be making big, irreversible financial decisions. But Prop 19 is forcing that on people, which is really bad because people don't always make good decisions when they're in a hurry, when they're in a state of emotional upset. And you can't reverse it. But we can reverse Proposition 19's death tax. Go to repealthedeathtax.com. To repealthedeathtax.com, click that big link that says download the petition. And you can watch the video of this recording and our other ones. You can watch that on the website at repealthedeathtax.com. And you can tell people to tune in and watch it if they've missed the live show. And I have a big announcement. You ready? Next week, this will be a simulcast in San Francisco and Los Angeles. We will be simultaneously on 560 KSFO in San Francisco and 790 KABC in Los Angeles. So tell all your friends to tune in and join us for the Repeal the Death Tax petition party. We're going to get some statewide energy going here, and we are going to get this measure on the November ballot. There is still time. There's not much, but there's still time. So tell everyone you know to go to repealthedeathtax.com and download the petition. This is good exercise. All the other things that we can do to fix problems in California. We have a few problems in California, especially for taxpayers. And some of these things can be fixed with the initiative process, and we can fix it. If everybody figures out how to do this, how to download a one-page petition, fill it out and send it in, it'll only take you 5 minutes and it will rock California politics in a good way. There's something to hang on to. Give us a call at 415-808-5600, 415-808-5600. So Scott, have you been talking to anybody on the phone about how Prop 19 is affecting them?
I talk to people every single day. Our phones are ringing off the hook in Sacramento. And going back to the lady who called and said she had a bunch of questions. The Sacramento office, that's where I am. Again, as Susan said, it's 916-444-9950. Feel free to give us a call. I will talk you through all your questions. I will answer them all. But yeah, the phones are ringing off the hook. So if we don't answer, leave a message. We will call you back. We are probably on the phone with someone else.
You probably are.
Telling them when the day is January 16th, postmarked to us by January 16th. We need them back, all of that stuff. You
Yeah.
can be your own circulator. That's another one we get a lot of calls about. You can be your own circulator on the petition.
Yes, and let me tell you about this top funders list. There's been some confusion about that. Page 4 of the PDF file says official top funders list. What's that? It's a new law in California that requires us to have exactly the wording that we have. I know it's awkwardly worded. That's the state law that requires it to be worded that way. So it says that we are the ones paying for it. The Repeal the Death Tax Committee, Repeal the Death Tax, a project of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. Now, what's been confusing people is we have to update that every month, and we are required to say, this is only valid for January 2024, for example, or this is only valid for September 2023. People think that the whole project expired at the end of September or at the end of October. No. Just the top funders list, and we have a new one on the website every month. So you can go to repealthedeathtax.com. You'll see the big download link, then scroll down a little bit and you'll see the January top funders list. So if you have the file from December and it says, oh, this expired at the end of December, no, the campaign is still going on. There's still time to send back the petitions. You just need to have the January version of the top funders list, which is identical because there are no so-called top funders. That's defined as donors who have given $50,000 in the last 12 months. And there aren't any because this is all grassroots. This is all being done with small donations. And thank you very much for your support. I know so many people who are listening to this show have been so generous, and we appreciate it so much. We have statewide radio ads. We are looking at newspaper advertising soon. We're going to be doing this as a simulcast, this show, and it's all because of you. It's all because of the support that you've shown this campaign to make that possible. So we really appreciate that California voters are listening, are engaged, are working with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association to make this happen. If you're not already a member of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, we're a member-supported organization, and you can be a member and hang out with us. HJTA.org is the website. Just click join us and become a member. It's only $15 a year, 15, and you'll get Taxing Times. That's our newspaper filled with interesting and exclusive content for taxpayers, not against them, for taxpayers. Some newspapers are not for taxpayers, just saying, but we are. And we will have interesting information answering your questions. Scott has a legislative update in every issue telling you what's going on in the legislature. And tell us, there's a new proposal, isn't there, for a wealth tax? It's going to have a hearing coming up. Maybe we want to tell everybody about that.
Always got something cooking. And yes, there is this push to institute a wealth tax. There will be a hearing on, I believe it's Wednesday of next week, where they will hear this wealth tax. They want to be able to tax all of your tangible and your intangible assets. So your stocks, your stocks sitting in your portfolio that you haven't cashed out, they want to tax those. They want to tax the equity in your home, get around Prop 13 that way. They want to tax everything. It's crazy. what we have to deal with here in California. And my job is never done. They're going to keep me employed until the day I die because they're always trying to raise your taxes.
Well, don't die because we need you in Sacramento. Yes, this is interesting because Prop 13 doesn't let them tax the value of your home for any new taxes. That's prohibited. No new ad valorem taxes, no new value taxes in addition to the main one. But this is not a property tax. This wealth tax essentially be on the value of your home, and it doesn't go through the property tax system. It goes through the income tax system. It goes to the franchise tax board instead of to the county property tax assessor. So that's a workaround that is being discussed to get around Prop 13. We will be fighting that. You can bet on it, and you can get in touch with Scott at the Sacramento office. The emails where you can write to us if you have any questions. I'm Susan, SUSAN, at HJTA.org. And you can also email Scott, SCOTT, at HJTA.org. Or you can just email the main info, INFO, info at HJTA.org. And we will try to answer your questions. If you want petitions mailed to you because you don't have a printer, we're happy to accommodate you. There's still time. There's not much time. And if you have a stack of petitions, I can't say this often enough, send them back, send them in. I also had a conversation, Scott, with someone who said, where are the numbers? Why aren't you giving us the numbers? And I said, well, we think volunteers are hanging on to the petitions. And he wrote back rather sheepishly, oh, I'll ask everyone to send them back. So yes, that's what's going on. We probably have enough, but they're all over the place in people's book bags and desks and junk drawers. Get them out of the junk drawer, get them off the table, put them in an envelope, and send them back to the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. RepealTheDeathTax.com. RepealTheDeathTax.com. Tell everyone you know. Listen to our radio spots. Spread the word about this radio show. This is every Friday at 6 p.m. till we get this done. And you can call the show right now if you'd like at 415-808-5600, 415-808-5600. Happy to answer your questions. So next week, we will be launching our simulcast. LA and San Francisco, we're going to make the whole state just rumble with talk about repealing the death tax. This is really very empowering, to talk to voters about fixing a tax increase. I'm finding that to be a really positive conversation. So many people are frustrated. They feel like they can't do anything, but we can do something, and we're doing something right here. We're on 560 KSFO and KSFO.com, and you can listen anywhere on your phone, on the stream. Happy to talk to you. So we are very concerned also about building generational wealth. We want to be able to help people set their kids up for life and not have the kids taxed out of the property. Generational wealth is a really important thing for so many communities to get on that economic ladder and stop being renters and be able to own property. It's just really important. And if you go to repealthedeathtax.com, you can read my column, which was in the Orange County Register talking about this, and you can send that to anyone you like. Go ahead with my compliments. And sorry, we don't have time to take the rest of the calls. Call back next Friday and we'll talk to you. This is the Repeal the Death Tax Petition Party. I'm Susan Shelley, President of Communications for the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. And for my colleague, Scott Kaufman, Legislative Director of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.
Send them back.